Hello, how's it going? Welcome to episode 3 of Rolling Redneck Reviews Redneck Engineering. Um, this is got my Wreck-gar out here and a couple other bike bots that are eventually going to become additional Junkions. Well, maybe not group here, but the Power of the Proms Wreck-gar when I can finally find one. This light speed is from the Generations, the Combiner Wars Computron set, and I had both the Combiner Wars and the Takara Unite Warriors versions. I prefer the Unite Warriors version. That's the one I don't have anymore. When I get another one, this is going to become another Junkion. The colors kind of match up really well for Junkions. And when I do that, I'm going to be changing the windshield and doing some other odds and ends to make him look less like Lightspeed and more like a Junkion. And I'm thinking about doing the little notches or the little grooves they have in the seat for this guy right here to allow them to sit, and possibly some new handlebars, like maybe some ape-hanger handlebars or something, to allow him to hold on to the bike. And I might change that front fork to make it like a chopper or something. I'm not sure yet. But this is the guy we're looking at today. One of the things, this was the last Wreck-gar I got when I had my horde of Junkions a while back. For some reason, I never got around to doing my normal mods, and he just ended up in a drawer, put up, and I found him when I was going through my stuff after the fact. So I'm going to do a simple little mod right quick to, because the one thing that always bothered me is this leg. Let's get these guys out of the way here. This leg is straight. This leg, you have to have that knee bent. You can see it right there. That knee will not go straight. That knee straightens up perfectly fine. Straight leg. You can get a straight leg. Normally, that's not a problem because display it, post, what have you. But that's always been something that bugged me. And these things, because of the way they're shaped, can break this right here because of the pressure that happens. So I'm going to trim that little nub off and allow that to fold in much easier. To do that, you'll need an X-Acto knife just to simply trim the rubber off a little bit. And to take, to the other mod, you'll have to take these 4 screws out. There's 4 of them here. That last one, that one right there, is the one that we're concerned with. The other 3 have to come out to get the leg apart to get to that area. So I'm going to pause the camera, take this thing apart. It's just 4 screws. You unscrew it, pull the leg apart, and then I'll be right back. Now, I've got all 4 of the screws taken out, as you can see right there. When you take these screws out, lay them down in order that you took them out in. Start from one side and work your way to the other. Do note that they are 2 separate sizes, so you will need 2 different screwdrivers, because this one and this one are smaller than these 2. And then you just pull the leg, the 2 halves of the leg apart, just like that. And then you'll pull this piece out, working it out of the leg. When you do this, be careful. This piece will come out. If you just leave it in place, you won't have to worry about it. And now you'll need to slide this thing off. It will have to go back, so just set it aside in a safe location. And what we're concerned about is this little pin right here for the screw. That pin interferes with this. But you've already got 3 other screws, and in the looks of it, it looks like this was added in after the fact. Like they were afraid it wasn't going to be secure enough, so they added another point. And normally I have a pair of snips that I use for this, but I can't seem to find them right now. So I'm going to use my X-Acto knife. And be very careful if you use a knife. You should use snips. Let me pause and see if I can find my snip. Okay, and we're back. I didn't find my normal snips, but I did find something that will work. This is just regular cuticle snips that you would use to give yourself a manicure. And this is really thin, so it's not going to do any damage to the clips. The first thing you need to do is just get it flush with the line right there and snip that off, because that's just in the way. And you go in and you snip that down as flush as you can get it on both sides. And it just shot off on me. And you want it to look pretty much like that. Then you go take your craft knife and you'll want to just clean this up a little bit. Get any excess off that you can. I mean, this is going to be behind the knee, so you really don't have to be too clean with it. I've got files. Well, that's the wrong one. That's better. Well, I can't really get in there, well, can I? Just try and, like I said, just get as much of that down as you can. Get it as flat as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just blow off any of the dust. And then what we will do is we'll start putting all the pieces back together. First, this goes over this and sits down right there. And there's a little peg right there that hole goes onto. And that sits right there. Start sliding the leg together, making sure that stays in place, because sometimes it likes to spin. You will take the foot, and when you put this in, make sure that you'll see it right there, the little divot right there goes back toward the back of the leg. And then you just carefully line all this up together. Sometimes it's easier to get this in place a little bit. And then just pull that out and put it in place. Now see, you'll need that like that for this to be able to move back. Otherwise, it'll just stay in place and you won't be able to do nothing with it. You won't be able to transform it or nothing. And then, because we removed this screw hole, this first screw right here, we don't have to worry about. You can set it aside. We will have this one, which will go right there. Get the right size screwdriver, which is the larger of the two that you'll need. Make sure it's seated in on the threads right, and then just screw that all the way down. Now you don't want to get it too tight, but you do want it snug. Then we'll do the next one. Now, while technically the two small screws and the two big screws are the same, personally I prefer to keep them in order, because sometimes the threads aren't exactly the same between two different screws, even if they are technically supposed to be the same. Manufacturing differences is what it boils down to. And then you just put this screw in. And it's a pretty long, thin little screw. Just get it all the way down. There, it's flush. And we'll stand him up here. And what that allows is the legs back the way it was, the problem that I had. Let's see, that allows that to go all the way up right there, which allows you to do a completely straight leg. And I just think that they added that last minute to give you a little, make it stay together a little bit better. Afraid it would break or whatever, but it shouldn't break on the shelves of us collectors. Now, a kid might break it if it was only held together by that. I can see that possibility, but I know it's not going to break on my shelf, and that gives him a much better stance, in my opinion. I like it. Allows the knees to bend, to straighten up, and gives you a little bit more range of movement. And it stays together pretty well. Now, another thing I wanted to do in this video is demonstrate the complete, well, first let's go ahead and trim this. Then I'll get to that. And you just take the knife and cut that little nub off. Make sure it gets flush. Now, the handlebars won't lock in place after you do this, but it will allow them to flow, to go back and forth a lot easier. And this is rubber, so it's a little tricky to cut sometimes. I wonder if it'd be simpler with the snips. Let's try it with the snips. On the other side. Oh yeah, that's much simpler. So just use the snips. And that, like I said, when flip this foot around, when it's in bike mode, they'll still line up. They just won't peg in. But when you go to open that leg up, they won't break. But just to kind of demonstrate some of the versatility of this mold, if you like to do customs, which I personally love to do customs, especially Junkions, because there's so many of them. First, one of the things you can do, let's put this back. This thing can stay on the wheel, right? So leave that right there. Just leave it in place as if it's just a muffler that hangs off the wheel. and this front wheel pops off. What a lot of people don't realize is that that springy area is also 5mm, and well, this guy's got some stress marks on that hand. Huh. That might have been why well, I'll be damned. Oh well. Well, I can show you on this side. It's 5mm, just like the hand, so you can use that front wheel as a mace. And because of the way this thing transforms, you can also this requires a little bit of part swapping to do, but I like this thing a lot. Let's go ahead and flip the waist. Well, I already got the waist flipped around. Okay, what this does is makes the back the chest, or the back the chest, and the chest the back. It gives him a little bit of a hunchback, but big deal. If you decide to go this route, I would recommend clipping this little piece out, like in a little V. But essentially what you want to do is take this piece off and this piece off. You got like that. And then you'll essentially put them together backwards. And then put it back on. Which will put that facing forward. That front fork, when you remove this piece, looks like a shoulder-mounted cannon. It's pointed down, but when he lifts his arm up, let's put it back in place so you can see what I'm talking about. When he lifts his arm up, he can aim the thing. And now he's got a little blaster. And a mace. Now, I'm not going to do that with this particular one because this is probably going to end up being my Wreck-gar. But it is definitely something I would like to do at some point in the future if I can get some more of these guys. I did have about 30 of them, and yeah, they were all kinds of varied. I really like this mold. It's an old mold. I mean, it's got some age on it now. It's several years old. It's revealed the shields. I don't even remember how far back that was. What, 7 years ago? But it has withstood the test of time. It is still a really good mold. Extremely articulated. It holds up to... I mean, it's just as articulated as siege figures. I mean, in some cases, even more so. It's really good detailing, and yeah, I like it. But as far as troop building goes, you kind of have to do some changes to it in order to get... I mean, I realized we had 3 different heads for this mold. And between Takara and Hasbro, we got a lot of them. This thing was repainted, what, 1, 2, 3, 8 times. When you include the BotCon purple ones, the Shattered Glass Junkions. So, yeah. And another thing you can do, and I've done this on one, is I cut this entire assembly off. Because of the way it attaches, right there, you can use that as a mace too. And have a clean shoulder. Just trim that back. I mean, you can do all kinds of stuff with these molds. I love them. So versatile. And the ability to have your Junkions riding each other is just great. Much better than the more recent Power of the Primes offering, which uses that exact same axe, which I think is ridiculous. I mean, they could have at least either remolded the hand or remolded this piece a little bit so that it would fit, but no, they didn't do either one, and it just kind of sits there on the end. Can't even hold it right. But yeah, that's my simple little mod. I hope you liked it. I plan on doing more of these. I don't have a lot to do with right now, but eventually I'm going to have more. And as I get more and do more stuff with them, I will be adding more videos. So please stay tuned. And I'll catch you on the flip side. It's time for me to roll out.